When replacing the drive belt, there's quite a few tasks that have to be taken into consideration. I've split this into multiple videos, so you'll have to refer to those, and I'll put them in the description link below. In this video, we're going to show you how to remove the rear fork of a Harley Davidson touring bike. It's also called the swing arm, but the service manual calls it a rear fork. Okay, the first thing we have to do is start breaking the bike down. We're going to take the driver's backrest off, the seat. We're going to take the negative terminal off the battery, saddlebags. Then we're going to remove both mufflers in order to get the axle out of the rear tire, and then remove the rear tire. I do have a video on removing the rear tire, so you'll need to refer to that before we get into removing the rear fork on this process. Okay, you're gonna have to take your brake caliper off. We've lifted the bike up. Now all of this is in my rear tire removal video. So if you don't know how to do this, you can refer to that video. All right, then we're gonna take the rear wheel off. Now we're going to take the passenger footrest off. Okay, now we got to take the dust debris deflector off. There's 3 bolts to hold on, one here, here, and then way up under there. So you get those off and the debris deflector will come right out. Okay, once you get the 2 bolts off, you can slide it forward. And as you can see, it has a notch that the head of the bolt can come through. That way you don't have to take this one off entirely because it's real hard to get up under there. Okay, next we're going to loosen the rear shock absorber bolts, the lower ones. You're not going to take them out, you're just going to loosen them at this time. Both sides. Okay, then we're going to remove these 2 screws for the left rear fork bracket. And these are pretty hard to get off, so it's going to take some manhandling to get these out. Okay, once you get those bolts loose, just take your rear fork bracket off. Coming up underneath the fender, you've got a clamp here that holds your brake line and your wheel speed sensor onto the fork. That's got to come off because you don't want it to pull your lines when you pull that fork out. Okay, next we got to remove this little plastic cover on the right side. You can just use your fingernails, get them in there and pull that off. Okay, what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to reloosen this nut, and it recommends using an impact wrench. While you're doing this, you're going to want to get that, there's a spacer hex nut on the other side that you're going to need to hold at the same time. So you're going to have to end up straddling the bike in order to get this off. Okay, so once that loosens, this side will come out. Then that's a spacer. Okay, then you want to take something to be able to push that pivot shaft through. I'm going to just use a big extension. It's got a nice smooth end on it. It won't go in. It won't mess up my threads. And we're just going to tap that out through the other side. And I'm going to move the camera to the other side and show you as it comes out. We're slowly going to pull that out. There you go. And that actually releases the entire rear fork from the motorcycle. And then basically you just bring it down here, and then we can take the bolts off the shocks to get the rear fork completely off. The reason we got to do that for the drive belt is you can see the drive belt wraps around the fork. So you have to take the fork off to get it past the pivot shaft that goes through there. It's just simply the only way to get the drive belt on. Okay, now we can take the lower shock bolts off. Okay, I'm on the other side taking it off. There we go. And that way, now we're going to fork off so that we can get the belt out once we disassemble the primary. So that was how to remove the rear fork on a Harley touring bike. This is going to be necessary if you want to replace the drive belt, which is what this video series is about. The next video, part 2, in the series will cover removing the primary so that you can take the belt off of the bike.